What's going on, guys? Welcome to 31 Days of Horror. I am Morgan Film Fan. Let's jump into some scares. Sick Nurses is a film from 2007, directed by, let me try to pronounce these, Thospol Survivat and Pirafan Laoyant. This is a Taiwanese film, and this is, okay, let me preface by saying this. I went into this film expecting one thing, and what I was delivered and gotten is something completely different. So right off the bat, I'm going to say that this is so far my least favorite film of this 31 Days of Horror, and it's my least favorite by a lot. I know I went a little bit hard on the butchering and the clown doll, but in comparison, those two films are masterpieces to this one standing side by side. Not that this is a badly shot film. I could see the budget in this, and there is actually some kills and some effects that are actually really inventive and brutal and pretty sick, albeit the CGI in a lot of them. But when it comes to plot and direction, I mean, this is one of the toughest films that I've ever had to get through, and I'm not even joking when I say I had to restart this film a few times to get through just the first half of it to understand and grasp what's going on, because this is a film that flashes back and forth between events, and there's a lot of exposition when it comes to past events, explaining the current events that are going on. And this, I will give this a fair shot, or a fair explanation. It might not be the film's fault, because it might just be bad translations, and there's certain times where the subtitles will say 15, like a number, and then it'll say something in Thai, but it won't translate it, so I don't know if it's 15 minutes, 15 days, 15 later, 15 before. It does that a few times. So what we have going on here, essentially, after a few watches, is we have a doctor who sells dead bodies, essentially. And it starts off with this, he's preparing a body to sell, and then it flashes forward 7 days later, and it shows this girl basically being put on a stretcher and trying to be given, like, I assume a lethal injection, but she's fighting and fighting, and then the doctor hands one of the sick nurses a knife, and then the sick nurse stabs the woman on the stretcher to death, and then it kind of opens up the movie that way. So then we start to see the events that led to that 7 days later and that event kind of thing. So the film turns supernatural. From what I got from this film, I assumed that it was going to be more of like a torture thing, where you have these psychotic nurses kind of doing experiments or murdering or torturing. Like, I thought this was going to be like on the, I hate the term, but torture porn sense of things. And it's not. It turns into a complete 100% grudge film, where you even have a scene where this woman is in the shower and then she puts shampoo on her hand, but hair comes out of the shampoo bottle instead of shampoo, and then the hair starts to wrap around her, and you even have this scene where like two fingers are coming out of the girl's hair in the shower. So it is literally a ripoff of these grudge films, the Juons, the Ringus kind of thing, and it turns into that. So it's like Thailand's version of like J horror, essentially. And I was not expecting that at all, especially from a cover like this, and especially from the brief description that I got. I guess I was disappointed that way. However, I can't really put the blame and fault on the film itself, because I guess it's just weird advertising, and it was my false expectations of what I went into, like expecting one thing and I got something else. That's not necessarily the film's fault, but what is the film's fault is its terrible direction, and it not making any coherent sense on what's going on. You're following these individual girls on what led up to this girl being murdered. Like I said at the beginning of the film, it's kind of like what happened leading up to that scenario. And you have these like weird, beyond weird. I like weird. I watch a lot of foreign cinema, but like, I'm talking weird. Like, there's this segment involving this one girl who she you can tell she like is very body, like she has a body image problem, I would say. So she takes this tomato from the fridge, she squeezes it into this cup, and then she cracks an egg and she just takes the whites into the tomato. So it's egg whites and tomato juice. And then she goes to her makeup thing and she pours like lotion, like face lotion, into the cup. So it's face lotion, tomato, and egg. And then you think she's going to spread it on her face, but she just ends up chugging it. And then she throws it all up into a bag, and then she puts the bag on a scale. So I guess she's like bulimic or something like that, but you know, instead of shoving your fingers down your throat, you decide to swallow lotion instead. Anyway, she does that, and then she goes to the washroom, and she takes a spray bottle, like a spray from the toilet, like the things you use to like spray yourself down when you're done doing your thing, and she sprays it all over her mouth to wash her mouth off. I'm like, you know, that's toilet water. Like, that's fucking disgusting. And she's spraying it all over her mouth, and then she starts brushing her teeth, and then she eats like 3/4 of a donut, and she just swallows the donut down, and then she keeps brushing her teeth. I'm like, well, why are you eating junk food after you? I don't know. I don't get it. And then there's a kill from this supernatural woman, which the timing of the 7 days later doesn't make sense for the supernatural woman to begin with. But the supernatural woman murders this chick with her toothbrush, so it's death by toothbrush. She like stabs herself in the mouth with a toothbrush, and her gums start bleeding and everything, and the toothbrush basically becomes a weapon. And you have this entity, this ghost figure of a woman who looks like crap, by the way. CGI and just like dark like makeup all over her face, and she was wearing this like gold dress, and there is this subplot where one of the nurses falls in love with the guy, the male doctor, and then her sister, who's named Nuke, also falls in love with the male doctor. So there's this love triangle going on, and the original girl was planning marriage with the doctor, but then her sister Nuke comes along and seduces the doctor, and at one point the original girl who was falling in love plays this game where she hides under a blanket in the morgue kind of thing, and she's like, come and get me, come and get me. But instead of the doctor coming to get her, Nuke comes in, and then they start having sex, and then the original girl, this is where she finds out that her sister Nuke is having an affair, and the doctor is having an affair with her sister, and this is where she freaks out and says, you know, wait till I tell everybody you're selling dead bodies. And this is where we get the reveal where the original girl who fell in love with the doctor is being murdered on the table because the doctor wants to shut her up and put her, you know, underground kind of thing, so he can go run off with Nuke, the sister that he was having an affair with. And then you get this ladyboy trans story out of nowhere, which I know there's the ladyboy thing when it comes to, especially Thailand. I know it's big there, but I know it's also big in like Japan and I think Korea as well. But Thailand has this ladyboy culture, and I get that, and I understand where it's coming from, but there's no purpose for it in the story. It's thrown in. It's stupid. It doesn't play into anything. It's borderline offensive, especially for that community that I would think, I'm not part of the community, but I would think it's a little bit offensive the way they handle it in this film. And it's just the doctor falls in love with this dude and then has some kind of gay affair with him, and then he's like, oh, I can't marry a man. That's ridiculous. And then the dude turns into a chick, which is the woman that fell in love with him. So he fell in love with this woman, not realizing that it's actually this man that he had an affair with like years before or however long before. So the man turned into a woman so that he could marry the doctor and trick him into being a ladyboy or whatever. And then the ending of the film turns into this scene which the if you don't want to hear spoilers, you could just shut this off right now, but the man basically is birthed from the woman that he turned into. So the woman that he turned into births the actual man, and the man is like, marry me. And all I have to say is that I own a film called Tonight She Comes, which basically does the exact same scenario, but beyond better, because the effects are better. And I think Tonight She Comes is actually even lower budget. I'll have to look up the budget, but I would be color me shocked if Tonight She Comes is lower budget than this, because Tonight She Comes does that same scenario where a woman births another person, another life-sized human body, but it looks way better than the shit that happened in this film. And the ending, I'm just like, fuck this movie. 0.5 out of 5. This direction and the way that this film was choreographed and directed is crap, and I had no fun with this film. I only felt pissed off by the end of it, and it's just the story's goofy. You have these like individual scenarios with these sick nurses that are being attacked by an entity, which I don't even know what girl is the entity, because like I said, timing. The girl who fell in love with the doctor, her murder happened like 7 days later, and then we're going forward seeing what happened in the 7 days. So who's the entity? Is it some chick that was killed before? Like, that we never saw killed? Is it just some random broad that came back as a ghost that we never were introduced to? Because it couldn't have been the girl who was, or the lady boy, I guess, who was murdered at the 7 days later, because then she was murdered 7 days later. How would she be haunting the girls 7 days prior and up to the 7 days? It doesn't make any fucking sense. This movie is shitly directed, if shitly is even a term. The direction's crap, essentially. There's decent moments, but the majority of it is just dumb and pointless. And I was expecting something, and I didn't get what I was expecting, but that's not really my criticism. My criticism is just how poorly this film is directed and written, really. It's just a cheap effort. Honestly, it's just a cheap fucking effort. So that's Sick Nurses. That's day 11, and man, we haven't gotten a 4-star yet in this 31 Days of Horror. But I've got some titles that I'm really looking forward to, and I think they can amaze me and blow me away. So I'm hoping they do, and I'm hoping they don't disappoint like this one did. But this is absolutely my least favorite in this watch so far. That's what I got on today, and there's more to come. Hopefully I'm blessed with some better films, and I mean, if you want to check this out, this is like borderline unintentional comedy, so there's that. You can look at it that way. I mean, it is literally almost an unintentional spoof movie, but I can't even watch it that way because it's just not entertaining at all. So that's it. Until next review. Subscribe if you want to keep up with 31 Days of Horror. Go watch my past reviews. I've done this for 4 years now. This is my 5th. And yeah, until next spooky review, keep things spooky. Hope you're having a great October. And until next time, cheers.